How Venezuela became so incredibly poor will shock you. Venezuela, a country few could find, received a few pennies every time you filled up your gas tank. Venezuelan oil affects almost every aspect of your existence: highway asphalt, tire rubber, computer plastics, shoes, TVs, shampoo, smartphones, furniture, and more. But despite being richer than the UK, Venezuela is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. How did this happen? How did a nation with massive crude oil production become so incredibly poor? The answer will shock you. It all began on July 31st, 1914, when a 400-foot hole flowed thick black oil in Venezuela. This was another chance for Juan Vicente Gomez, who ruled the country, to dominate. International corporations could explore, drill, and harvest Venezuelan oil tax-free if they supported Gomez. He granted oil concessions and rewarded others, keeping himself powerful and wealthy. In just 21 years, Venezuela became the second largest oil producer in the world, depending on oil money for 2/3 of its government's revenue and 90% of its exports. The early banks and oil industry paid well, creating a service economy. Venezuelan farmers fled to the city for oil money, and oil demand drove Bolivar's demand in the early 20th century, lowering imports and raising export pricing. The Great Depression coincided, and the U.S. devalued the currency, increasing the Bolivar by 70%. Venezuelans had fantastic jobs, imported luxury products, and modern conveniences. Civilization became oil dependent. By the late 1930s, its overvalued currency set corporate, labor, and goods prices, and the cost of living upset Franklin D. Roosevelt, who sought a second report. In 1939, Caracas was the most expensive city, and Gomez had enormous areas of property and monopolies in paper, beef, and dairy. He built the first army, crushing resistance, and gave the government control over all public income to keep power. The Venezuelan government became an entrepreneur after inheriting his businesses. Every Venezuelan ruler learned Gomez's style. The Second World War provided new President Medina a golden opportunity to renegotiate with foreign oil businesses. He wrote Roosevelt for help, and Roosevelt sent legal advisors to help the Venezuelan administration negotiate after Mexico nationalized its oil a few years previously. The 1943, or 50-50 principle oil law, handed the Venezuelan state 50% of oil profits. Famous legislator Juan Pablo Perez Alfonso found that Middle Eastern oil was more profitable than Venezuelan oil, so Venezuela sent a Middle East delegation with translated 50-50 principles, reviving Venezuelan oil. However, by the late 1950s, the inflated bolivar destroyed most non-petroleum sectors, and the remaining state-run companies employed tens of thousands. Oil prices determined Venezuelan pay, not talents, and the lucky business success boosted business. Thus, the goal was to gain a high-paying government post, collect bribes, and find ways to steal additional oil income. Despite social spending and state-run firms, most Venezuelans were unemployed. To minimize political ramifications from significant unemployment, food prices have to be low, harming the agriculture sector. The beliefs that Venezuelans held about their money were impacted as a result of these exceptional conditions. They rarely put money aside, instead spending it as soon as it came in, and due to currency fluctuation, the most luxurious hotels in the world may have been the least expensive option for them. But food shortages led to a weight loss of 8.7 kilograms in 2017, and the country imports the vast majority of its requirements while producing very little of its own. Quick forward to the last part of the 1990s, when a big part of individuals living in Venezuela were living in wretched destitution, defilement was boundless, and the disparity was at an untouched high. Hugo Chavez was elected to correct decades of wrongdoing, and he pursued socialism in the 21st century, gradually nationalizing significant businesses and hiking taxes on foreign corporations. Maduro's regime has been accused of massive human rights violations, including torture, censorship, and extrajudicial killings. Hugo Chavez was elected to correct decades of wrongdoing. The country's infrastructure proceeded to fall farther and further into disrepair while inflation continued its meteoric rise. Because of this, a large number of Venezuelans have escaped the country and are currently looking for refuge in the nations bordering Venezuela. The over-dependence on oil, as well as debasement and unfortunate administration with respect to Venezuela's administration, were significant supporters of the country's monetary breakdown. The riches of the nation were frittered away, and the people of the nation bore the brunt of the repercussions. years. The main part of the country's occupants struggled with getting by as the country's chiefs received the rewards of the nation's oil riches. These individuals were forced to contend with food and medical shortages, spiraling inflation, and an absence of basic services. The ongoing dilemma in Venezuela ought to act as a wake-up call for other oil-rich countries, causing them to notice the dangers of unnecessary dependence on solitary ware, as well as the meaning of sound administration and receptiveness in government. In addition, it serves as a useful reminder that although oil may provide wealth, it does not necessarily offer prosperity or stability to the nation in which it is found. Individuals of Venezuela keep on enduring the worst part of the results that stream from the unfortunate administration of their administration, and it is as yet muddled whether the nation will actually want to haul itself out of its ongoing monetary and political emergency. Thank you for watching, and please share your thoughts on Venezuela's economic downfall in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on current events and global issues.